Let me go to Sohrab Ahmari. He is the op-ed editor for the New York Post, author of The Unbroken Thread, and he has been witnessing and a part of this in real time on what is going on. So, Rob, welcome.
Glenn, thanks for having me.
So tell me, first of all, quickly, and we'll get back to it maybe later, quickly tell me the Joe Biden story that was posted yesterday.
So this was really a Hunter and Joe Biden story. You'll remember that Joe Biden has repeatedly and emphatically denied that there was nothing untoward going on between his family, his dynasty, and Ukraine while Mr. Biden was vice president and the second most powerful man on earth, playing an outsized role in the destiny of that embattled Eastern European nation. He's denied it. But the New York Post, my colleagues, I'm not the reporter on this. I can't take any of the credit for it. I'm just our opinion or op-ed editor. But our reporters got hold of the contents of a hard drive that appeared to belong to Hunter Biden, and they include emails showing that the firm called Burisma, it's a shady Ukrainian energy firm that had Hunter on its board of directors, paying him at least $50,000 a month. Nice work if you can get it. Mm-hmm. That they had asked him to arrange a meeting with his father. And so it becomes clear why our illustrious vice presidential son, who, otherwise has no special expertise in Eastern European energy markets and oil and gas matters, was being paid $50,000 a month. I mean, it was obvious all along, right? Why would Burisma pay Hunter Biden $50,000 a month? Mm-hmm. But now we get it. It's influence peddling. And so in addition to other things that just corroborate that, this is the real material, I mean, it also, among the cache of materials are all sorts of personal photos, including photos of Hunter with like a crack pipe in his mouth, smoking, and sort of debauched stuff. But the important thing is that we were very clear from the beginning about how we got hold of this material. It was reported deeply, fairly, meticulously, and it was based on much more solid sourcing than mountains of stories published in center-left outlets over the past 4 years that collapsed and were based on unnamed sources telling the reporter. And none of those got censored by the major social media platforms the way this story is.
And this story, I mean, it's either a very good fraud or it is the truth. And the reason why I say a very good fraud is it confirms all of these threads that most people aren't even covering. It covers all of the threads and all of the players that, if you've really been doing your homework, if you really know the story of Burisma, et cetera, it all fits. It all fits.
Yeah, I mean, Glenn, there is something very delicious about this because we've, spent the past 4 years talking about collusion that never materialized. The special counsel, again, in his report, Robert Mueller, definitively ruled out there having been any collusion between Team Trump and the Kremlin,
right,
or any Russian assets or elements. Definitively ruled out. Then at the end of this tail end of his 4 years, it's almost like some sort of Greek tragedy or comedy. You find a cache of material that confirms that there was influence peddling, certainly with foreign entities, when Joe Biden was vice president with his clan.
So yesterday they came out and said Joe Biden, because in this information it shows that Hunter Biden asked for a meeting with the Burisma officials and Joe Biden in Washington. And Joe Biden said, well, there's nothing on the official schedule. However, there's a hole in his schedule, exactly where that meeting was supposed to take place. Mm-hmm. And also the January 5th meeting that we know now because of handwritten notes he was a part of with President Obama that went against what the FBI was saying. We know that happened, and that's not on his schedule. So what does "it's not on my schedule" even mean?
So, Glenn, if I may, I just want to rehearse the denial that the Biden camp put forward yesterday.
Okay.
And go through it. It has three elements, and it's very amusing if you think about it. So the first element says a bipartisan committee found that, Joe Biden had done nothing wrong in Ukraine. Concluded that. That's a non sequitur. We have new evidence. So it does whatever the various congressional bodies found. Fine, that's very nice, but we have new evidence. That's we have the smoking gun or the smoking crack pipe, if you will. Mm-hmm. So that I can rule that. The second one was the Post did not tell us that Rudy Giuliani was involved in obtaining this underlying material. Okay, but plenty of newspapers don't go around saying who their sources are. So that, again, is a non sequitur. And then the third thing they said was that the meeting, and this is, as you know, if you know lawyers, if you know PR people, they choose words very, very carefully. They said the meeting did not take place as alleged by the New York Post. As alleged by the New York Post. So, okay, and then in a political story, they said they couldn't rule out the possibility that an informal get-together took place. So this is a story where we're being banned. We're not being. Facebook has reduced distribution. They said they had, and you can't post it on Twitter. This is a story where the complainant has not disputed really any of the facts in the story, right? The person who's being accused. They haven't. Hunter does not say that I didn't write those emails or anything like that. So Twitter and Facebook are acting on a case where even the person who's being accused in the story isn't really denying the core facts.
So now, here's what happened yesterday. We know that Twitter and Facebook throttled you back. Twitter actually, I think, banned your post, did it not?
Correct. So it began with a Facebook official, actually, named Andy Stone. Andy Stone tweeted, although he's a Facebook official, but he used Twitter to say that, I'm paraphrasing, but I won't link to that awful New York Post story, but it certainly deserves fact-checking. In the meanwhile, we have taken steps to reduce its distribution on our social media platform. Now, the thing to know about Andy Stone, before we get into the actual substance of that stuff, is Andy Stone, in his bio, says before he joined Facebook, he worked as a staffer for Senator Barbara Boxer, Democrat of California, and for the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, the DCCC.
That's weird.
So you have essentially a Democratic operative who's at the levers of control for, where free speech really happens, right? Theoretically, we have a First Amendment where I can go I live in Manhattan, I can go on a street corner and sort of bang drums and be like, Hunter was corrupt, but that's not where speech really happens in our day and age. Where it really matters is on these privately owned platforms. That's where free speech either lives or dies. And the person who controls the levers is an openly Democratic operative, proudly says he works for Senator Boxer and used to work for the DCCC, and is reducing distribution. And then a couple of hours later, I think I tried to post a story, and I noticed I got an error message from Twitter saying, we've determined that this story is harmful alongside our partners, and so we're not going to let you post it.
So here's what you get today. Today, when you get the post of, hey, make sure you read our follow-up, you're not going to get it because they're not circulating it. But I tried to click through on the story, and it says, warning, this link may be unsafe. The link you're trying to access has been identified by Twitter or our partners as being potentially spammy or unsafe in accordance with Twitter's URL policy. This link could fall into any of the below categories: malicious links that could steal personal identification or harm electronic devices, spammy links that mislead people or disrupt their experience, violent or misleading content that could lead to real-world harm, or certain categories of content that, if posted directly on Twitter, are a violation of the Twitter rules. Back to the previous page or ignore this warning and continue. That is so damaging to not only your traffic, but also your reputation, that I think there's a lawsuit to be had in that.
Well, I will leave that to our legal team. But what I will say is that we are talking about America's oldest continuously published newspaper that was founded by one of our founding fathers, Alexander Hamilton. And I get goosebumps when I say that about the Post. And so, this is not some sketchy website where they can do this to without consequence. This is an old newspaper, a beloved newspaper in New York City, a paper that's a local paper but also has a national and global voice and imprint. And, the closest thing to an argument I saw from a Twitter safety thread they had put up, they said, this includes, information that was, unauthorized for release. Well, my Twitter friends, let me tell you about the Pentagon Papers. Let me tell you about the Trump tax story. All of journalism is practically built on disclosing things that people don't want disclosed. That's the line of work that you and I are in, Glenn. So, what does that mean?